Horns Up, Talking Texas podcast. Fisher, Snacks Kreider. Nick, very exciting day. We beat Kansas this weekend.
We did. Awesome. Great. Hurrah.
Hurrah. We found out some interesting news about Xavier Worthy.
We did. Hurrah.
And we have a quarterback competition.
We do. Hurrah.
Which
honestly, all positive. So let's start with Worthy. Because I think this is
it's all positive.
It's all positive. The smallest part of our conversation today, because look, what's in the past is in the past. He didn't have a great sophomore season, and we can contribute to some of that being a new quarterback, right? Trying to mesh together.
Sure.
The offense didn't have like a true identity, kind of seemed like at times. But we learned today that he was playing half the season with a broken hand. And as a wide receiver, you want both of your hands to work. So that could definitely be some of the reason why he dropped passes.
Not broken.
Yeah, not broken. So that's good news in my opinion, because now he's fully healthy, and Sark said that he's about to see a whole nother version of Xavier Worthy that we haven't seen before yet.
Great. Would love that. What about the quarterback situation?
Moving on, quarterback situation. We have a competition between Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. And look, I'm not surprised, and I'm not mad at it. You want your quarterbacks to be competitive. You can't have the guy just thinking he's got the job in the bag. Otherwise, maybe he doesn't play to his fullest potential.
Well, he didn't even play. He didn't play to his fullest potential.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, like, okay, look, another year of seasoning, another year of maturing under your belt. You know, this is technically your quote unquote sophomore season. It's a redshirt sophomore year, so your second year with the program. This is your program right now. Don't lose it to the incoming freshman.
Well, let me ask you this. Forget his rating, forget his stars, forget him as a recruit. Him as a player at Texas, did he do enough to lock up the starting job as a quarterback?
No.
Okay, so then yes, you should have an opening at the you should have an open quarterback competition, at least, especially if the guy coming in is just as highly recruited.
Right.
So if we're going based off recruiting, both guys should have an option to start.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have a bigger sample size with Quinn just because you saw how he played early in the season, like the game against Bama and the game against OU, like. You know, those.
The Bama game was a quarter. He had a couple nice throws in a quarter.
I know what you mean.
The OU game, yes.
But there was times where you could see him look phenomenal against against top college defenses. So I think that right now Quinn's got the edge. If I really had to guess, I mean, they say it's a quarterback competition, but I'm willing to bet that it's 80% locked up Quinn's job, maybe 75%.
I mean, it'd be a disaster every year if Arch Manning was starting in October, November. That means we flopped.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless he starts the season as our starting quarterback.
True.
I mean, if he's blowing people away, but that would be really tough for Quinn, who's got a Longhorn tattooed on his thigh.
Yes, though. I mean, tattoos aside, yeah, it'd be a tough look for Quinn Ewers. I mean, the guy, it seemed like he has the locker room. You'd like to think that
players love him. Cut the mullet. He means business now.
I'd like to think that the TCU game, the Oklahoma State game, some growing pains, like we've said.
Injuries, too.
Injuries. If him and Worthy are both healthy, Whittington, Sanders, I mean, we talk about it time and time again. Yes, we lose Bijan, but we still have a solid running back room. I would like to think.
This is the most confident I've ever been in my receiver position. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Healthy Nair coming back.
Yeah.
Healthy Xavier Worthy, as we just mentioned. Whittington returning for a fifth year, changing from 4 to 13 now, maybe new number and some new juice. You got, transfer, 80 Moore from Georgia.
80 Mitchell, yeah.
80 Mitchell, sorry. I'm thinking of Moore who decommitted from Louisville, who's now a Longhorn.
Yeah.
Ryan Niblett. You have so many. Casey Kane, so many receivers right now that can make big impacts on your team. There's not just one guy. That takes some of the pressure off Xavier now too, I think. Opens it up. I mean, look at how those Bama receivers flourished under Sark's offense. There was 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them, right? You didn't know who to guard, and Devontae Smith was the guy who reaped the benefits because he was the least coverable. He was the fastest on the field, and that could end up being our Xavier Worthy.
We're at Baylor and at TCU this year, at Iowa State, at Houston, which is interesting, and obviously at Bama. A retooling Bama team. We have the tune-up game versus Rice. We go to Tuscaloosa, which the amount of guys we have returning and their turnover, It's as good of a shot as you're going to have to beat Bama as anyone's had
since last year,
as anyone's had in the last decade.
Since the one point loss.
Yeah. Okay. Year. Then Wyoming. I mean, at Baylor is really the big test, and then you have the tune-up game versus Kansas before the Red River game, which we smacked them last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sweating that game. I'm probably the biggest game I'm sweating is probably at TCU. We have at TCU and at Iowa State, but both those games in November, and by then we'll know.
TCU always, has to turn over their roster too.
Yeah, we're gonna know the time. We're gonna know the kind of team we have by the time we see Baylor. By the time we had the Big 12 play in our fourth game, we're gonna know what we're dealing with. Because we'll have the 2 tune-up games: Rice, the Nair revenge game versus Wyoming, and then obviously the Bama game. Mm-hmm. The worst case scenario for me, and when I hear quarterback competition, I look at quarterback competitions of the past in college football. The worst case scenario for me would be a situation in which we had 2 years ago with Casey and Hudson, where it's like, oh, who are we running out?
Yeah, different guy every week.
Yeah, who are we running out? And who's getting snaps?
That's not going to be the case here. It better
not be.
I don't think
it's been the case once.
Well, look, that wasn't Sark. That wasn't Sark.
What was Sark? 2 years ago was with Hudson and Casey.
Oh yeah, it was. Ugh. So for some reason, it feels
together. That's fine.
Yeah, I know. It just feels like Sark's been here way less, but. Yeah, you're right. Ugh.
No, Sark. This is it. Hey,
this is year 3, huh?
This is it.
Oops.
I'm sorry. I know. Give him time to get his guys in there. Give him time. And I've been one of the people that have been like, hey, let's let these guys marinate for
sure.
a little bit. But going against everything I've probably have said in the past in this podcast, of give him time. Let him get his guys in the building. If we're going into the Red River game and we're 3-2, we've lost to Baylor, and we've lost to Bama. Let's say that's
he's got to get a 4-year shake. 4 years.
If he loses 5 games again this year, and he's supposed to be this offensive,
he'll get one crack at the SEC. They'll at least let him have one crack.
You listed 6 receivers, dude. Our offensive line's pretty much coming back by and large for the most part.
Yeah.
We've got defensive, we lose Overshawn, but and Ojomo, but we got guys on the defensive side of the football. We brought in Catalan, who is one of the bigger safety recruits or transfers in the game that we've seen in this NIL escapade over the last couple of years. The quarterback competition, if it's going to be a competition, let it be a competition, but the best guy better come out there in week 1.
Yeah, 100% I agree. And they can't
Quinn.
Can't be flipping-flopping back and forth, but... You know what I did like? Someone who did not flip-flop back and forth or flip. Tashard Choice did not go to the Rams and take that running back position job. He decides to stay at Texas.
Smooth move. Their running back room is highly questionable. As nice as LA is, it's probably a good move on his part.
Well, look, he's building his resume as a running back guru, right? Obviously, Bijan Robinson was the number 1, prospect in that position coming out of high school, and now he's the number 1 prospect going to the NFL. But this just continues to add to Tashard Choice's resume. I mean, you get Cedric Baxter, and now we're looking at the next guy for the next class. So just continue to build off that. And Bijan,
he was at Georgia Tech before us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Jahmyr Gibbs was there.
Yeah, and Bijan said it after his combine. He was like, RBU's building over there. I mean. You think of our rich history, obviously. I mean, we already know who the greats are. Earl, Ricky, said, Jamal, Deontay.
Don't forget Deontay. And I know we don't, but people forget Deontay Foreman. They shouldn't. And he's in the NFL right now as a running back.
100%.
And Tashard Choice, you're right, is building his resume, which now has both of the top Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan. He's had a hand in both those guys.
Yes. 100%.
But those are the top 2 prospects. I mean, we'll see. I'll see how he comes in, Brooks, this year. I'm curious to see if
it's not Brooks, then maybe Baxter.
Hey,
freshman,
best player.
Seen it before.
I don't care. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has won the Natty as a true freshman.
Yeah,
let him Tua.
If you're the number 1 running back in the country coming out of high school, you're good enough to start somewhere.
Oh yeah,
multiple. You could probably start in half the college, maybe more.
You could start at the bottom half of the P5s at minimum if you're as good as advertised. Yeah. And if the offensive line you're playing behind is good.
Wasn't J.K. Dobbins a starter freshman year, and he lit it up?
He must have been. I mean, Dobbins got playing time at the minimum. The Bama guy, it's really the Bama guys that we see in the NFL, some of them don't always get it because they're playing behind guys.
Right, but now this opens the door. There's not really a definitive guy now that Roschon and Bijan are both gone. You have Brooks, but is he actually the guy?
No, you see freshman running back take off. We've seen it time and time again across college football. Like that's a position that can easily translate depending on age.
Yeah.
Like I mean, obviously, like guys build on size, but that's a position where you can come in and really make your mark from the jump.
Yep. Speaking of making our mark from the jump, locked up the 2 seed for the Big 12 championship game, or for the Big 12 championship tournament. We play the winner of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State on Thursday.
I'd rather play Oklahoma State. Oklahoma, despite the record, kind of scares me. They just have some guards that can go off.
Yeah, I agree. And look, they're always going to play us with all their might and will because we're their biggest rival in the conference, right? So
yeah, I'd rather see OK State.
Yeah.
But going to that Kansas game, I mean, you got to touch on it. Wilson had a fine game. Harris did not shoot well. McCullers foul trouble, did not shoot that well. But I mean, again, we discussed this Kansas team. I just got it up on my phone right now. I just wanted to see the minutes they played. I mean, of the 5 starters, Grady Dick played the lowest minutes. It was 28 minutes. We talked about it. They're spread thin.
Yeah.
This is a Kansas team. If their starters are not cooking, they don't have guys they could supplement them with. Whereas the Horns, I mean, dude, we had 32 points off the bench. I mean, 23 from, go.
I mean, he's greatest 6 man of all time.
He's literally the Manu Ginobili of college basketball. Serge Jabari, motherfucking Rice.
Well, you know what I liked is I heard in the broadcast that someone said, like, when he was getting recruited to play at Texas, they're like, you're not going to start. He goes, that's okay. Just as long as I'm in when it's towards the end of the game and you want to win basketball games.
Bro,
if you want to win, I better be in at the end of the game, which I'm all in on.
All in on? Who takes the last shot for us?
Him.
Yeah.
Or Carr. But mainly him.
Mainly him. Mainly Serge Jabari Rice takes the last shot for the Horns.
Yeah, he's cold.
He's cold. Dude, 23 points, 7 boards.
You know what's funny is the shot fake, too, that they always talk about.
It's great.
That I see nonstop. Like, you would think that guys would stop biting by now, but he just, every game, just shot fake, and it works every time.
I mean, because he's such a threat.
I know.
He's a threat. Bishop, Dessou.
Dessou's really coming together.
He's getting hungry.
We're getting hot late. Look, I'm not saying we have to win this tournament here, because we don't, but it would be really nice to head to the tourney with the Big 12 championship dub.
Would
that lock us as a 1 seed if we won the Big 12 championship here?
It might, yeah. It might. Let me look at the final bracket.
I mean, like being the Big 12 champion in the toughest conference in college basketball. That's got to give you a 1 seed.
I mean, it depends on how everything else shakes out. Okay. God, you can't even see this. It's such a small bracket. Yeah, I mean, like you would literally need glasses to see that. I mean, it's
which you don't have.
Which I don't have glasses. I mean, yeah. I mean, if we win, it just depends on how everything else shakes out, right? Does Purdue win theirs? I'm assuming Houston's going to be a number 1 seed. If UCLA wins the Pac-12 tournament?
Well, I'm just saying if we win, then that means Kansas does not win. So we would take maybe their spot.
Yeah, I mean that would be pretty.
Because they really only won the regular season Big 12 championship by half a game.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Baylor has Iowa State. So West Virginia Tech goes and plays Kansas. That's shaky for that's tough. Kansas. You don't want to see West Virginia
or Tech.
No, both of those are tough teams. I actually feel better about Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. I mean, we're going to have to see probably TCU, who just beat us, Kansas State.
Yeah.
You know, both those games are really tough. I would love to see Kansas State again.
Yeah, 100%.
And
or TCU.
Yeah, I would love to see either of those teams again. And I would love to see Baylor.
Yep.
I would love to try Baylor again. If we could beat Baylor in the Big 12 tournament championship, like it's like a big if, like again, you have games to get there, then that proves to me this we could win it all. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying we will, because there's a lot of weird basketball that's been happening. There's a lot of good teams. There's a lot of teams that play a similar game to us.
Look, it's March. It's bound to have some weirdness happen.
Yeah, but if Texas wins the Big 12 and we get an opportunity to knock off either the TCU, Kansas State teams, which is great, and then Baylor, this is a team that can do it.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, horns up. Talking Texas. We will see you guys next time. Hook 'em horns.